how's it going? It's with much regret that I have to say that, alas, the weather has not cooled off yet and it's still sweltering. Still, a vlog's a vlog and I need to update, so here I am to talk about the news. One of the first things I found on Yahoo was an article that said, believe it or not, Americans are obsessed with Facebook. It had a bunch of neat stats, like how 39% of the people interviewed, or polled rather, said that they believe themselves to be Facebook addicts. Big surprise. But still, it didn't really tell me anything I didn't know. People like Facebook. It's kind of obsessive for a lot of people. They check it in the middle of the night, before they do anything else in the morning, before they go to bed. Now, I'll admit I like Facebook, but I am nowhere near that obsessed. The Swiss have made a plane that is solar-powered. How cool is that? This thing has 12,000 solar-powered batteries in it. And what they did was they decided to see how long they could fly it. So they're hoping that it'll be able to fly all day, get real charged up, and then be able to use the energy it's stored up from the day to fly all night. Sadly, it doesn't sound like they believe that it'll be replacing regular jet engines or anything like that anytime soon. But hopefully, in the distant future, solar power, clean, efficient energy will replace dirty, non-efficient energy. In California, in LA, a guy named Lonnie Franklin Jr. Was arrested for being a serial killer, whom the police called the Grim Sleeper, who killed 10 people. They called him the Grim Sleeper because from 1988 to 2002 he kind of took a hiatus and stopped killing people, which is cool, but then he picked it back up, and it sounds like he killed about 10 black women and one man. And they found him eventually because they his son was taken in for something, and they did a DNA test and a bunch of other cool, I picture like a CSI crime lab or, something like that, and they did a bunch of tests, and there was probably a cool montage with music and stuff, and then they found him. There were actually 2 different articles about whales, and I happened to click on them both. The first one was all about how whales have to shout because as a whale shouts. They have to be louder to, let themselves hear each other because of all the noise pollution that's happening underwater. Most of the noise pollution comes from shipping, things and people being on the water more. And the problem with this is it means that whales are having trouble communicating with each other, which means they're having trouble reproducing and all that jazz, and they're endangered, so it's not very good. The other article talked about a new species of whale that was discovered recently. They're calling this huge beast that lived about 12,000 years ago Leviathan melvillei, named after Herman Melville, who wrote the book Moby Dick. Now, what's weird about this guy is he was, for today's standards, he was a pretty good, normal-sized whale. He was 60 feet long. But what made him different was he had 14-inch long teeth, and he used them to, rip chunks out of other whales. Kinda cool, huh? Scientists found the skull of one of these guys in a Peruvian desert recently, and so they got to, because they'd been finding, little chunks and their teeth already, but they finally found a skull so they could prove that it actually existed. And finally, on a little more serious note, Obama actually, elected a new Medicare chief, which, would have been cool and all, except he totally bypassed Senate hearing. So he just kind of said, hey, I appoint you the new Medicare chief without getting anyone's permission. I don't know if things have changed since high school government, but last I checked, we were a country based on a system of checks and balances, which when I was very young I thought meant actual checks, like, you write out a check, but it doesn't. It means that, other branches of the 3-branch government check each other out to make sure that what they're doing is cool. The guy that Obama elected, Dr. Donald Berwick, is a professor at Harvard, and he's a patient care specialist. He's a pediatrician, and I guess he does a lot of stuff and that impressed Obama enough to appoint him head of, Medicare, which is a pretty big position, I would imagine, so I hope he's up for the challenge. In all honesty, though, the article on the whales intrigued me the most. The one with the giant Leviathan Melville. I just thought that was cool because I've actually read Moby Dick, so I was happy at the nod towards literature in the naming of this giant beast. But besides that, a couple good articles in the news. It was a good news day. Much better than last week. My name is Keps, and I approve this message. You'll never